Hi everybody, this is Lowell and we're talking about how to start a music school, and I'm discussing core competencies or basic values that every musician should know and every music school should be teaching, in my opinion. And in this video I wanted to talk about the combination of the three areas of learning, and particularly visual, aural, and kinesthetic. And so you have, obviously listening goes with developing musicians. Most modern musicians, contemporary pop musicians, lean heavily to the listening skills, which is fine. I have no problem with that. That's probably my strength as a musician, and so I'm a very strong ear learner. But the other two of learning how to read music and understanding the benefit of visual learning, as well as the benefit of doing, which is the kinesthetic part. And so it takes all three of these working together, and every student will have a mix of these three and will probably lean heavily to one or the other. It would be a mistake as a teacher to force a student to predominantly lean to an area that is not in their strength mix. And so if a person is really strong in ear learning, then lean to that. But having said that, the other areas of learning should also be incorporated and not just completely dismissed. My critique of most learning institutions with music these days is that because music is predominantly ear-based, is that that becomes an excuse for a lot of people, a lot of musicians, and a lot of training situations where they just say, well, you have a great ear and you're learning by listening great, and so you don't need to learn how to read. You don't need to learn how to involve kinesthetic approaches, and so they dismiss learning how to read music. In my opinion, that's a mistake, a big mistake. And making music without the other two elements can severely handicap a musician in terms of making things as full as they can be. The concepts of reading music stem thousands of years back, and just because we have modern technology with recording and so forth doesn't mean that learning how to utilize the visual skills of reading, it doesn't mean that we should discard those. And if anything, it should help us to recognize the benefit. It would be like trying to build a house without any blueprints, just by memory. And maybe there are a few people that are skilled enough to do that, but most people need a blueprint. If you're going to make some larger structure, you need a blueprint. You need something written down. And the same is true with music. People that cannot read music are limited to the scope of what they can build and create. They might be they may have the kind of talent that is, they could build a massive skyscraper, but if they don't have the skills to incorporate visual work, then they're only going to be able to create a hut. And unfortunately, many musicians in our generation are limiting themselves to these very small creative endeavors because they've not learned the skill of putting things in writing. So in this video, I wanted to encourage the balance. Essentially, musicians are always going to be, or most always going to be doing. I encourage composers to make sure that they are playing an instrument. And I encourage instrumentalists to understand the value of composition and to involve themselves in some degree of some level of composition, so they understand how the creative process works, and that helps them understand how to interpret the works of other composers. And so what I'm saying is that there should be a mix of listening skills, reading skills, and performing skills, all working together in symbiosis. And many music schools do not do this, and it's unfortunate. But in order to be a complete musician, you really need to do that. I had a student recently say, well, they want to study with somebody who has more specific competencies, basically what do you call it? An expert in a certain a certain niche, and I get that. But when you look at Mozart or Bach or any of the great classical masters, they played more than one instrument. They improvised. They wrote music. They were great performers. They were great composers, all at the same time. And so they were not so niche that they lost the overall perspective, the big perspective of how music works and how music fits together. And so I think we make a mistake in our modern education when we become so compartmentalized that we can't see the big picture. And when you can't see the big picture, then you're liable to get off in some little niche area that becomes irrelevant. And so if you're going to be a musician that can stay current and on the current edge of history, you need to be able to have a comprehensive viewpoint of how all of these things work and fit together.